But regardless, let us get into the Aether Gazer review. Now, this was written by Hershravyata, who has got into the recent closed beta thing. I do not know, but they got into this and they took the time to write this very extensive review of the game, as I didn't even sign up to the beta, nor did I really even think I'd be doing this, because I was like, I'm not that interested, but here I am looking at it because why not? So we're going to go through all this and read it carefully, and kind of, whenever anything sounds out of ordinary, that's when I'll pick it apart, but just generally, we're just going to sit here reading through it and understanding the game. So Aether Gazer is an anime-themed action 3D RPG game set in the sci-fi dystopian world. Sci-fi. Honestly, not a personal fan of sci-fi, but whatever, I respect it. The developer is Ziamen Yongshi, also developer of Azure Lane, and publisher is Yosta, also a publisher for Azure Lane and Arknights. I haven't played any of these games, but Arknights, I've heard, is very, very popular. This review mainly derives from my personal experience playing the CN version in Global CD. It is not pro gamer POV, nor the official content creator's POV, treated as just words from a gamer to another gamer. And I'm gonna treat this, my words that I say on top of this, as guy who knows nothing about games. The point stated here is also a combination of the information gathered from the official AG server Discord, the discussions from players, outsourcing information, great job. Honkai Impact 3 may be used as a reference to explain certain things. I will also be explaining if I can. The story plot will not be discussed because I skipped the story. True. Anyway, character overall mechanics, stats. As usual, characters' stats mainly contains attack, defense, max HP, crit rate, crit damage, the classic 6 or 5. How many is it? 5, and not 6. I saw too many words. Classic 5 stats. It does limit a bit of how much diversity in terms of builds you can have, but I guess more diversity can be added in different ways. In Honkai Impact 3, we wouldn't really matter about the base stats, except for attack, but that is only counted when we reach the end game and wanted to min-max our damage output. However, in AG, the basic stats do play a role in developing a character, such as crit rate, crit damage, for a DPS, as every element in AG can crit, like physical damage. Oh, interesting. So everything can crit, so a bit more, that's nice. Max HP and defense also plays a part in developing a character, as there are characters that can benefit from those stats due to the fact that certain characters act as supports that can provide a shield, defense to a team, or DPS characters that consume HP to use skills. Hootiao. Plus, you need to be reminded that AG is somewhat an in-team combat gameplay where your teammates' conditions matter than the usual swap mechanic in Honkai Impact that Honkai Impact 3 uses. Therefore, you need to bear in mind that depending on what role you choose to control, your actions will give an impact to your teammates. Okay, overall, this summarized, all your stats matter. You can't just look at attack, crit rate, and crit damage. You do have to take into consideration max HP and defense as a whole, which is good. More stats equals more diversity, and more build diversity with your characters, and also potential character diversity in terms of how they play and what they want, which is overall good. Moving on, aside from the base stats, we have elemental stats, which is basically your damage types. There are 8 damage types: physical, wind, fire, thunder, water, ice, light, shadow. Not sure how I feel about wind. Okay, you know what? It's fine. It's fine. Water, ice. Come on, dude. Nah, it's fine though. Okay, let me have a look at here though. Yes. Bonus damage to bio units. Bio? That's Honkai Impact stuff. What the hell? These prove to be your main damage sources. Next is opponent's stats. Unlike in Honkai Impact 3, characters don't have counter types, so in order to increase your damage against each type of enemy, you'll need to increase the stats specifically against them if you wanted to. This is good. Let me explain why. Because Honkai Impact's type system is also... Both these styles are good. I don't want to diminish either because both are great and work. But there's something, at least personally, I like a bit more about being able to build a specific character towards countering a specific type, depending on if you have the correct things to build them that way, obviously. Because in Honkai, you get a character who's biologic and that's your best character, you are immediately useless against all fucking mechs, right? My Eponia is completely useless against all mechs by herself, so that's the instant thing, and then I have to invest in another character. Whilst this means that you can, if I might be disproven later on in the review, but this means that you can pull one character, and then you have to get a build, per se, for each kind of type of enemy that you encounter, So then you have to constantly be switching things. But that's obviously if you want to play that way specifically. Who knows? The damage bonus to each enemy types are as status, bio units, AGI, mecha units, Vizbane units, normal enemy units, elite enemy units, bosses, which elite enemies are bosses, and modified mode damage bonus. Modified damage mode. Interesting. Modified damage mode. Okay. The most common that people build is for elite enemy unit and modified mode damage bonus, which will be explained later. Okay, cool. The last one is skill stats, which is specifically the character skill damage bonus. Normal attack, standard skill, 1, 2, 3. Ultimate skill and charge skill only applies to characters that have a charge skill. Okay, that's very generic. You know, you just have a percentage of damage that goes towards those specific things. Very generic. All these aforementioned stats can be gained or increased aside from leveling your characters. It can be gained or increased aside from leveling your characters. It can be increased through the use of sigils and their affixes, which can be translated to stigmatas in Honkai Impact 3, as well as from stage buffs or faction buffs. Note that affixes play a big role in AG, unlike Honkai Impact. Level up and transcended. Okay, more terms. Let me take a sippy of my thing here, though. Beautiful. Level up and transcended. Max level is 80. Levels are capped by admin's level on interval. Levels are capped by admin's level on intervals. For example, you can level up characters to level 20 from the start, and then your admin level needs to be leveled up to 30. I see, okay, interesting. Much like Honkai, right? Yeah, much like Honkai. I have been above 80 for so long that I forgot that it's the same thing. Forgot to mention, players are called as administrator, and you're somewhat canon in the story. Okay, cool. Transcend is rank up, B rank to triple S rank to a mega rank as final rank. Oh, I like the fact that there's something above triple S, because I feel like this is a very garish thing to look at. I feel like just seeing triple S on the screen is a very garish thing to look at. So having like maybe the words Omega on your character, and like that just kind of sounds a lot better than just saying triple S. So I like this. So there's a rank above triple S, very cool. All characters in AG have a fixed of 6 active skills that can be upgraded using skill points, basic attack with skill 1, 2, 3, ultimate skill, and dodge skill. As usual, each skill have their own passive skill, basic attack, just basic attacks with present preset combos. As of now, there are no charge attacks, nor complicated combos from basic attack of any character. Okay. For skill 1 and 2, 3, they require resources to be used. Resources? Mana? Different types of characters use different resources when casting a skill. The 4 types of resources are Rage, Energy, Traces, and Divine Grace. Ooh, they couldn't just go with mana. I guess it's not a fantasy game. I was about to say, why couldn't they just go with, like, mana? But yeah, that's fantasy stuff. These resources are like SP and Honkai, except there are 4 ways to get them. Example, through basic attacks, auto refill through time, through stack marks, and so on. Okay. Ultimate skill does not require any resources from the character. Ultimate skill bar will automatically charge over time, and certain characters may gain extra charge in certain circumstances. You can also use certain affix buffs from sigils that can fasten the charge. Ultimate skill can cause enormous damage as well as other effects, and you and your teammate will be invincible whilst casting. So every time you and your teammates use ultimates, everyone will get some iframe. Ah! Okay, but it's interesting that the ultimate doesn't require a resource, but I guess essentially the bar that you charge is indicative of its cooldown, and then there's ways to just reduce that cooldown. They could have just said that it has a cooldown. I think them, gain more charge and just give it a cooldown, really, and then there's ways to reduce that cooldown. I think that's a much simpler way and a much more understandable way to do it, but whatever floats their boat. Dodge skill is basically time fracture in Honkai Impact 3 and zero time in AG. Sorry, or zero time in AG. Each character may have different zero time duration than others and can provide additional buffs as well. Teammates can also trigger zero time as well, since the effect are globally throughout the map. Ah, yes, this is kind of like an openish world. Not openish world, sorry, but I kind of know the world layout. But anyway, ultimate skill chains. Ultimate skill chains are basically team ultimates. When certain characters are in your team, they can use an ultimate skill chain. To use an ultimate skill chain, all characters in combination must have their full skill bar. Ultimate skill bar, rather. An ultimate skill chain have more powerful effects. Obviously, it's like the old fucking Naruto games, the old like Ninja Storm games where you have like Itachi and Sasuke, and instead of just using one of their ults, you make a team ultimate and you do a massive bazinga thing. So it's a very normal combat kind of mechanic when you have like multiple teammates. So yep. Anyway, depending on the characters, essentially all characters have at least one team ultimate, either with 2 or 3 characters, very much like the Naruto stuff. But most characters at the start of the game already have 2 types of ultimate skill chain that they can use when pairing with different characters. And, you know, I'm assuming the ultimate skill chain is derived from their lore kind of connections. You know, you're not going to see 2 villains, or sorry, the main protagonist and the villain having an ultimate skill chain. At least I don't think so. But you'll see 2 characters who in the story are more akin to each other, or sorry, a bit more like together generally and like each other more. They'll have like some sort of ultimate stuff, right? Note that the only type of ultimate skill chain that can be selected before entering the stage. As the game updates, there'll be more combinations that can occur with current characters and the new ones. Ultimate skill chain does not only provide more damage than the normal ones, but can also provide additional buffs. It will also stop stage timer during the animation, unlike normal ultimates. Okay, so that's the reason to do it. This is the main reason to do it. Obviously, it does more damage, thus it gets the job done quicker, but it's most likely just going to be for the stage timer being stopped. In terms of importance, ultimate skill chains is usually better than normal ultimates. I would say not even usually, I'd say probably all the time. If you wanted to use the normal ultimate of that character or your teammates, just use it before the character in combination fill their ultimate bar. A very easy way to do it. Additionally, other characters who are not in combination will also gain invincibility during the animation. Interesting. Note that ultimate skill chains have their own preset of pairs to combine with. You can see a list of the characters and ultimates with each one of the characters in the menu. Okay, so being given the information instead of having to figure it out is very nice. Or during the preparation menu before starting the stage. If one of the characters in the skill chain dies during the battle, you will no longer be able to do it, which is fair enough. But you can, but can only use the normal one. It is also possible to not select ultimate skill chain if you prefer using the normal ultimates instead. Wow, being given choices? Lovely. I love being given the choice. Very, very nice. I haven't really even seen the art style of a lot of the stuff here, but this looks very nice. Cool. Access keys. Moving on to the equipments. A bit more interesting part for me, at least. The equipment of the character's access keys are weapons. Okay. Weapons. Each character have a default preset weapon that cannot be changed or removed. The weapon can be leveled up to 60 and is considered among the major damage sources of the character, unlike in Honkai Impact 3, where weapon types are categorized by characters, and you can slap any weapon of the same type to that character. In AG, however, every character have their own unique playstyle, thus, there's no such thing as categorizing the weapon types, which is the slightly smarter way to do it. I will say, when we're now looking at it being done this way, I'd say it's slightly smarter to do it this way than however Honkai does it, because Honkai does do the thing of this character, like the Mei unit, only uses katanas, but there's like a million different katanas, and so it's like, Jesus fucking Christ, what are they even here for? I do like this way. Anyway. You will find unique playstyles with a variety of weapons, ranging from swords, katanas, guns, sniper staff, and sword and shield, ice pickaxe, giant axe, scythe bows, crossbows, weird flying things, puppets, and even an umbrella. As if to say there are no limits to the possibilities of weapons that the character will use. For example, one character, A-rank Tsukuyomi, uses a katana and a greatsword, but the S-rank version uses somewhat dual katana instead. Okay, I'm right there for that. That sounds fucking sick. So, wait, an A-rank Tsukuyomi. Okay, I didn't understand that they would change with the rank as well. That's interesting. So, an A-rank Tsukuyomi uses a katana and greatsword, but the S-rank version of Tsukuyomi version uses dual katanas. That's interesting. I like that. It won't be locked specifically for that character, so no worries about seeing cases like Hearst of Flame, Silent Hearst of Sentience, where they don't even use the weapon they're equipped with in their gameplay. I agree. Very nice. Very nice. Anyway, who is this? Seraphina uses a guitar. In battle, crit rate is increased by 4%. Access key attack. Okay. And then, who's this? A Metis. Oh, she looks nice. Oh, she looks nice. Cool design. Functor. Sorry? Sorry, what the fuck is a... Beg your pardon? Functor? Now, this connects us back to the weapon. Aside from leveling up the weapon, you can equip a Functor to the weapon to further increase its performance. Sorry, I want to determine it from the... Functor functions, okay. So that's the... Yeah, okay. And, the thing that I read was the Functor. The crit rate increases the Functor. When equipped by Rain Feather, Hera will... her skill 2, Blazing Embrace, changes to Burning Dance, summoning the Phoenix to attack the enemy. I probably shouldn't read them. To make it simple, Functor are weapons stigma. You can equip only one Functor on the weapon and upgrade it as simple as that. Functor range from 3 stars to 5 stars. It provides high stats to the character and the weapon itself. It will also provide additional buffs during combat, which are called function. Simple. For example, a 3-star Functor's function gives 24% ultimate skill damage in battle. You can increase the buff by upgrading the Functor by using a copy of the same Functor. For higher star, it may give additional 2 buffs. With greater value and greater stats, Functors can be upgraded from tier 1 to tier 5. So you have... Okay, that's quite a... Okay. It's depth without adding confusion. Is the simplest way I can put this kind of system. Is adding depth without confusion. Because it's kind of like, let's say, the Stigmata thing, but you only have one of them. And that's it. You only have to keep track of individual things in an individual category, right? So you have your weapon, which is your character, essentially, because the character, as we learned, comes with the weapon. And then you have the on the weapon, you equip a thing, but that thing has different star rarity as well as different tiers, which is kind of playing to the whole and as we learned to tier it up. For higher stat, it may give 2 additional buffs to tier it up. Wait, which part did we read? Fuck, I've really lost myself. Range of 5-star, blah, blah, blah. For example, so you can increase the buff by upgrading the Functor using a copy of the same Functor. Right, so to upgrade it, you need the copy of the same one, which kind of goes to the Genshin method of you need a duplicate to upgrade it, which is neither here nor there in my opinion. Usually the base version is well enough to get you on your way into the game, so I have no opinion on that really. But it's depth without adding complication. You don't have to keep track of 7,000 different things, which is good. I like that. As usual, 3-star and 4-star Functor is easy to obtain, while 5-star are able to be bought in a shop via farming the currency to buy them. Sounds great. For character specifics, 5-star Functor, you need Gacha to obtain these, which is simple enough. The Gacha stigmas, Gacha weapons, simple. These type of Functor will add special skill or buff suiting the character itself, making their performance a lot better. Very straightforward. Note that Functor uses the faction mechanic, whereas each Functor belongs to a specific faction, and only characters from the same faction can use the same Functor. This is how AG implements the equipment sharing system without interrupting the character's main weapon visually and in gameplay. What? Functor uses the faction mechanic, whereas each Functor belongs to a specific faction, and only characters from the same faction can use the same Functor. This is how AG implements the equipment sharing system. Ah, yes, okay, I see, okay. I don't understand it, but I'm just gonna act like I do. Functors contribute about 30% of the character's performance, mostly due to the stats and the basic buffs. Based on the CN free-to-play and the whale players, you aren't required to get every Gacha Functors for each character in your team, due to the fact that the farmable 5-star Functor can already perform greatly enough. Okay, that's interesting. So essentially the G4 stigmas of this are good enough, so you don't need every single Gacha stigma. Only certain few characters would require their Gacha Functors, exclusive for extra skills that is provided to that particular character, but is also dependent on your playstyle. Okay. It is not even recommended to upgrade your Gacha Functor to tier 5, as it seems highly unnecessary. Treat it as a divine keys in Honkai Impact, where you can only get it to min-max to the only get it to min-max at the top of the leaderboards if you want to be Chad number 1. One of the reasons is, unlike in Honkai Impact 3 or PGR, where you swap your buffs, in AG, characters are always there from start to finish. Therefore, the buffs/debuffs/supports as if are constantly active throughout the stage. So you can say, if a support character is present, they will do supporting, unlike supports in Honkai, whereas without equipment, they aren't supporting. Which is, Hershviata explained this to me yesterday, which is something that is very demoralizing when getting a Honkai character, is that 90%, at least putting it just as a big number for no reason, 90% of the supports in Honkai aren't supports by themselves. You really need their stigmatas. So essentially, it's like stigma support. It's not even character support. It's very odd, because you can essentially slap, like, I could slap Aslaug on any other character, and they'll pretty much be just as effective as Raven. So it's like Raven's there for absolutely no reason. Which is like a demoralizing thing. Just like imagine just getting Azure Imperia, but then you don't have like something like her stigma, or which is a very, very important thing for her. And then also her weapon, which allows her to use her stigma buff more frequently. And so it's just, okay, I got the character, but now I don't have the thing that I need to actually make the character do what the character is intended to do. Which I think, depending on how it's done here, you know, I think this is a much better thing, at least from my personal opinion. It's a little bit more lenient, but not super easy. Doesn't make it super easy because you still need the character plus the functor at the higher levels. But at the lower levels, just having the character is pretty much okay enough, right? So still at the high levels, you'd still need to invest a lot more. But anyway, let's move on. Only a few AG characters that are in similar case to Nyx, DA, or Vilvi, which relies heavily on their own equipment. Okay, that's fine. See, having specific cases is fine in my opinion. Having specific cases where certain characters do rely on it is okay. Another note before this, I had mentioned in the Discord that you will need to gacha for weapon. Well, to clarify that part, Functors are the one to gacha because the odd name choices they selected, I decided to just call them weapons instead. By now, I realized I forgot about the faction system, which will be explained after this. Okay. Gen zones, admins, okay, Shindo, oh, God, Gen zones, Yggdrasil, what, wow, what? Very interesting naming choices, though. But these are the factions, I'm assuming. I'll just read them beforehand. Deal 1 round of damage to all enemies when exiting modified mode. Wow. Okay, let's read, because I don't know. Faction, there exist 5 factions, mainly Olympus, Nile, Shino, Yggdrasil, and Asterism. As you notice, by the name of the faction, you could assume that the character in AG may have a name connected to Greek gods, Japanese, and Chinese cultures, and anything else that I'm not knowledgeable enough to tell. True and real. So faction is how you would categorize the characters aside from the usual damage type, but there's a character with 4 elements, so yeah, just use faction. There's a character with 4 elements, so just use faction, true. Faction can provide powerful buffs to the whole team. You can gain up to 2 team buffs when using 2 or 3 characters from the same faction. Faction buff is also one of the team comps you may consider when building your team, as it is highly benefits your gameplay. As we see up here, something like Olympus extending the duration of modified mode, which then if you get Shino, which increases the damage dealt in modified mode when exiting it, and so on and so forth. It all seems to be centered around the modified mode though, so having multiple of these that synergize well would be good. Increases crit damage dealt by all modifiers on the team. That's the Nile one. Sounds fucking great, right? So, yeah, sounds like an important thing. It's kind of like the type system, but not as a critical to what you're versing, but more so in a different way. Anyway, sigils. Sigils is the part that I'm a bit more interested in as well. Much like the Functors and the sigils. Hostriata told me about these yesterday and how they are maybe slightly better than artifacts and stigmas in a sense. But let me take a sip. Coffee's great, isn't it? Coffee's great. I love it. Anyway. Sigils! We're going to take a look at this screen. This is the sigil screen. Looks. There's 3 set. You have 6 pieces. You have a 3 set. Great. Cool. Sigils. Moving on, we have sigils. This is like your stigma. Each character will have 6 slots to place them, and each slot will be numbered 1 to 6. Sigils will provide base stats and additional stats, buff or regular skill buffs. You can upgrade each sigil to level 40. When equipping 3 sigils of the same type, you'll gain a set buff. In general, you will equip 2 types of sigil with 3 of the same type. Sigils are purely farmable in ranges from 3-star to 5-star of each type. This is much like the artifact system. To save upgrade resources, only upgrade 5-star sigils to max level, as you will change to a higher star in the end anyway. 5-star sigil will also be easily obtainable from the sigil stages, but note that since the sigil have numbered slots, this also means sigils have numbers as well. So your RNG battle is basically fighting with which slot of sigil that you want. However, you can also trade 3 5-star sigils at the shop to select a preferred sigil slot that you want, regardless of what type or slot they are, to be used as a trade. There will also be a new sigil on every patch, so that's the grind. Okay. And as we can see here, when in battle, attack is increased by 180, ultimate skill damage is increased by 10, so the sigil itself bonuses do seem to be quite substantial. 180 attack if it's base attack or even just general attack. seeing as one of them, it seems only gives, one of them gives 140, and this gives 180 as a set bonus. It does seem to be quite powerful. Or maybe collectively they give 140 and then getting a 180 on top of that sounds great. It is indeed quite complex when it comes to choosing the sigil, because you may just use the overall recommended ones or choose anything that suits your needs. For example, if you use a lightning character, DPS character, usually I would just use lightning DPS boosting sigils and maybe a crit rate sigil. But if I want to be to change to something else like resource regen or ultimate damage boost, you will have to a variety of choices on how to build a character that suits your gameplay. Yes, and there seems to be a lot of sigils. Very interesting. Cool. There obviously will be a meta. Let's not beat around the bush. There's going to be a meta for each character. You know, this one works the best this way, but that's to be discovered when the game launches. After upgrading a sigil, you will unlock affixes, a major part of making sigils more powerful. Affixes range from a variety of buffs, debuffs, and stats, and so on. Affixes, like in Honkai, plays by RNG. Now, this will connect towards why you would choose a sigil according to the numbered slots, and why you may change your sigil from the usual ones being recommended. The reason is affixes are divided to each numbered slot. Slot 1 have these affixes that can be obtained. Slot 2 have these affixes, and so on. To gain the specific affixes, you will need to place the sigil according to which numbered slot you need. You can obtain 4 affixes on each 5-star sigil, and their buff surpasses the sigil set piece buff as well. That's why instead of getting crit rate from the sigil set piece buff, I would gain it from affixes instead. The affixes can endlessly be re-rolled, and the resources to use for guaranteed re-rolling 2 affixes can be obtained from the game modes. Affixes have levels where it increases when having similar affixes. So you may think of sigil a bit more like artifacts, except the affixes can be infinitely re-rolled, thus you don't need to farm the new same slot sigil again and again to get the perfect affixes. In the end, you'll end up with 24 affixes with 2 set piece buffs, so build the character however you want. Sounds like a lot, 24 affixes, but it essentially is, it's as simple as saying, if you played Genshin, as simple as saying, you are able to re-roll the substats. Pretty simple, right? Because Genshin has how many? 4 times 5. It has 20 affixes per se, if I was to correlate it directly. This right here, you get 4 extra things, and you can re-roll them infinitely. This is essentially what Genshin players have wanted for the past year and a half, maybe 2 years. So, power to you, AG. Continue to make it like this. But the usual build that people would go for is crit rate, crit damage, and attack, because it's universal and can be applied to other DPS and easiest to build, but if you're into a more specific affixes, you can go with other ones. Extra note, when a character reaches Omega rank, you only need 2 sigil to activate set piece buff, so additionally you can get... What? That's quite strong. That's like such a weird way... Weird in a good way, at least in my opinion. A weird way to make a character stronger at the highest rank. That's such an interesting way to do it. Is the character just doesn't need to, the character doesn't... Wow. What? That's so interesting. That's such an interesting way to make a character stronger is, hey, you don't need 3 sets anymore. You can just make... Because you could just... fuck, let's read on. You only need 2 sigils to activate a set piece buff, so additionally you can get 3 set piece buff instead of 2. Number of affixes stay the same at 24, which makes sense. From free-to-play perspective, every A rank is possible to reach Omega. Standard S rank have a chance. For limited S rank, even Kevin struggles to achieve that without spending money. That is such a interesting way to increase a character's power at Omega. Wow. I like that, though. Because it's not like just a flat numbers increase or a percentage increase, right? It's a you increase the character's rank, or power, sorry, at Omega rank, just by saying, here, have a bit more creativity, and see what you can do. Hey, what's up, Larry? Welcome to the stream, man. Hope you're having a great evening. Welcome. We're just looking at AG review by Host Reviata here. Aether Gazer, by the way, that's AG. I like this. I like it. AG, Omega rank being so, influential. I don't understand. Okay, simply put it like this, Piston. I'll use Genshin as an example. Genshin is super hard because it has 5. You can only do this with 6. Okay, so when the character is not at Omega rank, to get a specific set bonuses from your sigils, you need 3 of them. You need 3 sigils of one specific type to get the 3 set bonus when they're not Omega, which is above triple S. So essentially, if they're triple S or below, you need 3 pieces of the same type to get the 3 set bonus. So you can have a total of 2 3 set bonuses, right? Which these set bonuses range from universal increased attack damage or ultimate damage or whatever. But once they hit Omega, you only need 2 of these pieces, and because you have 6 in total, you can then use 2 pieces of the same type to get the set bonus, and then another 2 to get another set bonus. And because it's a total of 6 thing, you can get a third 2 set bonus. So it essentially makes it so you can have more power in a different way. It's not just a flat numbers increase, right? Much like essentially getting a character in Honkai to triple S essentially is just a flat numbers increase for the most part. Unless they have a specific ability unlocked, but yeah. Regardless. That is cool. I really like this. Depending on how strong it can be, depends on if it'll be balanced, but yeah, I like that. Aether Code, though, is the next one. I'm not really... The visuals don't do much for the brain for me, or much for the imagination, but I appreciate the visuals nonetheless. Aether Code, another part when developing your character is that each character will have their own specific Aether Code, which can change their performance in gameplay by a large percent. Aether Code are like talents that can give special effects, buffs and debuffs, technical performance, and etc. There are 9 Aether Code for each and every character. You can only equip 3 at a most and can swap to the ones you prefer. However, you need to know that the Aether Code follows a skill tree path. Whereas in order to choose the latter part of the branch, you need to choose the previous ones first. So it's not entirely free to choose. We categorize this by blue, red, and yellow colors. Ah, yes, that's the top thing there. Okay. Each color branch will have 3 Aether Codes. In order to choose the third or the end of the entire branch, you will need to equip the first Aether Code of that branch. So yeah, it's not entirely freely to mix and match, but you can still have a pick between 1 + 1 + 2, or 1 + 1 + 1, or 1 + 2 + 3. So essentially that is this skill tree here. It's a small skill tree, nothing too extensive, but each line will dictate a different type of playstyle. I'm assuming the red one is the top one. Every block shot hit has a 10% chance of gaining 1 trace. I don't even understand the terms, but essentially the top tree will specify a bit more to this playstyle. The second tree, which I'm assuming the second one is maybe blue, and that will specify a different playstyle, and the yellow will specify a different playstyle in some certain ways, maybe not intrinsically. So if you want to play a character in a specific way, you'd go red, 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 but you would not be able to go, red, 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 blue, blue, or whatever. You'd have to go, you only have 3 of these to spend, and so choose wisely, but you can change these infinitely, so it's, up to testing. And this is specific to each and every character, as, each character has a specific thing that they do around. So this character, top one, fucking Johnny Sins, every block hit chance has a 10% against trace. Chain Crosshair has a crit rate of 100 for enemies in armor break, so that's pretty crazy. You might want to go with that tree. Maybe crit damage at the end, who knows. So, very interesting way to add more depth to specific characters, as this was stated. This is each character will have their own specific Aether Code, so you can kind of mix and match your character in a specific way that you may want them. Anyway, Aether Codes can be endlessly changed without any fee, and it can be unlocked one by one just by progressing your character. There you go. It's a very free system, and it's freeform. Great, sounds amazing. End of the character overall mechanic, and we are about 25 to 30% way through this whole review. Next, we have a bunch of images. Characters look great. They're in the world with you. Amazing. Combat, flashy effects, numbers, modifier point gain, ending UI, level 25 XP admin thing. Kind of looks like Kazuha Kaidahara. Kind of looks like Roald Dahl, and this is JK Rowling over here. Is that Kiana? Oh my god, what the hell, dude? What are their actual names? Billy, Bob, and John. Okay, next, enemies. Ooh, they kind of look weird, but also kind of interesting. They mech enemies. It's sci-fi, so it's mech enemies. Okay, combat gameplay. Team AI gameplay experience. Now we progress to the core gameplay mechanic. Okay, for those that didn't know, in Asia, your team consists of 3 characters, with 2 of them being controlled by AI. You will only lead 1 character throughout the stages, and there won't be any swap mechanic. That is what we need to understand first. There's no swapping to your other characters. You choose one that you're going to play, and the other ones are just there in the arena with you, fighting the same things with you. So it's essentially a 3v something. Whatever, how many enemies are there, it's a 3v something, but you control one of them only. So how does it perform in actual combat? It does feel odd at first. You might expect it to be easy. You may think the AI is useless. You may think it bothers you that you can't play all 3 characters without changing it before you start the stage. But in reality, stages will be bigger. Enemies will spawn 3 times the usual amount per wave than in Honkai or PGR. You can get surrounded by enemies around you, either ranged or melee enemies. In Honkai, rarely would you think you will die from basic mobs. Well, they do the opposite in AG. You have 5 enemies preparing to attack while waiting for the attack to launch. To trigger 0 time, you may have other enemies attack you before the enemy does. You get triggered, staggered twice or thrice, and even reach a moment where you thought to yourself, you suck, you suck more than the AI. There's no swap iframe to cover you now. True. This can happen quite often for melee characters. Where's the AI then? Well, they are surrounded in the same situation as well, except they might perform better than you. The truth hurts. The truth hurts to hear that the AI might be better than you. Oh, the truth hurts. So welcome to Aether Gazer. Where's your AI teammate? Where your AI teammates don't suck. They will always try to trigger 0 time whenever it is available, and it won't fail. They will use their skills and spam it like a champ. A healer AI will not waste their healing skill on full HP HP teammates, and they won't go to the other side of the map, leaving you defenseless. If an enemy pops up near you, after they finish attacking their target, they will go to you and back you up. Kind of a smarter AI, which is great. Surprisingly, the AI in AG feels really feels like actual teammates. If a skill requires a special way to activate, they will activate it. How tutorial teaches you to do it. Also, minor note that I find it interesting because of a team kind of gameplay. Is if you get to play while role playing. Example, you choose an AoE staff user, you'll feel like you're a mage for the team, attacking from behind the lines, or even being a healer, an assassin, tanker, or ninja. Quite fun if you're bored with the main DPS as always. Yeah. So okay. Essentially, what I've gathered from this is that you can choose the way that you want to play. If you want to play as a healer and let the other 2 AI be the damage dealers, you can do that. If you want to be the tanker and be the guy soaking the damage whilst you have a healer and a DPS backing you up, you can do that. Obviously, the 2 people backing you up are the AI. You can choose the role that you play in the thing, and the AI isn't dumb and will perform a certain way. They will perform adequately enough, which is great. And now target locking. Due to multiple enemies present in the stage, they added the target lock button where you can target lock onto an enemy you want. You can also change target as well by tapping the button, and there's a setting for it as well. This will fix random targeting changes just because the enemy is closer to you. But for me, I don't really care if I change target without killing the previous enemy because I know my AI will finish the job for me. Sounds great. The AI is smart enough. But yeah, target locking, you kind of need it in a game where there's a lot of enemies. Critical 1242, that's great damage. Basic combat, like previously mentioned, character have 6 skills, or 6 buttons to use in combat. Basic attack, skill 1, 2, 3, ultimate, and dodge. Only a basic attack don't have any cooldowns, so dodge have a CD as well. To be precise, dodge are limited. You will have a dodge bar you can use, and it refills quickly after usage. But if you depleted the dodge bar, you will need to wait a few seconds until it refills again. So the idea is you always need to make sure your placing is in good position and dodge when necessary. That's actually very similar to Tower of Fantasy. You have 3 dodges, and they recharge over time. The combat gameplay is considered fast-paced with a good amount of survivability challenges. Enemies are more active in attacking, but less active in movement. Okay, interesting. Also, recap of a resource of the SP to use skill 4 types. Rage, obtained with basic attack, used for casting. Energy automatically recovers over time. Uses for casting skills. Traces, obtained from casting certain skills, used for casting special skills like skill 3. And Divine Grace, obtained differently from each character. When consumed, you gain special effects. Example, use skill 3 and then enhance skill 1 and 2. There's 4 different things: Rage, Energy, Traces, Divine Grace. Learn about them more when the game launches. Depending on the character resources, you may require to know what different sigils benefits your type of resources. This right here, essentially, there might be something like a specific sigil that says consume 20 rage to gain a massive buff, as an example, or have more than 50 rage and get like a massive buff or something, or whatever, or like spend 20 rage and heal. So that's what this essentially means: is your whatever your character spends the most of, you may be able to build your character in terms of their sigil combination. Damage types. We already know that there are 8 elements for characters in AG. All of them can crit. All of them can be used together. You can mix and match damage in the same team as well if you want. You can add specific damage type like the opponent's stats. where you add specific enemy type damage, boss damage. There's not much to add, as you may have the general idea by now. Very simple. If the guy's a boss, if you're fighting a boss, you want boss damage. If you're fighting a guy, you want guy damage. If you're using a sword, you want sword damage. It's a very simple and straightforward system, not too much to it. Dodge skills, 0 time, slow enemies. Movement speed, there is a CD for 0 time, which with some it can give you buffs and fill resources. Essentially 0 time, time fracture. But this is called 0 time. Great name. As usual, when you attack, you will notice the rating on your screen goes screen like S rating with combos and count stuff. So you have this thing up here. It's a combo system, which you can already see that it says modify points gained plus 30%, attack plus 5%, so it gives a bonus. So in AG, this has its users. You can get a rating up to a mega while in combat. At a mega, your attacks will deal the 100% value that will contribute to fill up your modified mode bar, sorry. At lower rating, it may be 35% faster, 30%, and so on. And so doing dodge skills and combat skills, damage types, ultimates, basic attack, and many other factors, it contributed to getting a higher rating. Sounds great, you get a higher rating. The better, the more variety of things you do, and the more things you do, the higher rating, thus the better you perform. Essentially, the better you perform, the better you will perform, is essentially the summary. Rebound, before continuing with modified mode, just another mechanic about dodging. When getting hit, you'll be staggered, and getting staggered multiple times isn't a good thing. To counter this, you can use a rebound. By using a larger portion of your dodge bar, you can teleport yourself to a safe spot and instantly recover from being staggered. This is considered your final attempt to dodge to avoid fatal blow. If you fail to dodge in time or when 0 time is in CD, rebound have no CD, as it depends on your dodge bar to use it. To rebound, just quickly tap dodge after being hit. Yep, just a safety mechanism. Really, that's all it is. Cool. Modified mode, the thing whether we've heard a lot of now. Modified mode. One of the most satisfying combat mechanic in AG, modified mode can only be triggered against elite enemies. Bosses, per se, elite enemies. By filling the modified bar, the green bar, if we just quickly find out the green bar, this bar right here on the left of your screen, the green bar, which is where your ranking or your combat rating is displayed. You will enter a grayish-white area that separates your entire team with the elite enemy from anything else, including other elite enemy. In this zone, stage timer will stop completely, the elite enemy will be stunned, and all of their resistances will be depleted. Yes, 0 resistance to everything. Poof. For a few seconds, around 6 seconds, you and your teammates can burst spam every skill you got. Also a good moment to use your ultimate skill chain, team ultimate, if you equip one. Because everything is stopped at the same time. So you get more time, not technically more time, but theoretically more time. This is one of the team comp people will go after aside from elemental team comp. Aside from crit rate and the usuals, you can just stack modified mode buffs, which is this super mega mode. You can pair faction buffs, like certain factions give 100% more damage in modified mode. As we saw earlier, you can get a time extension, I believe, in one of them. If we just scroll back up, I do want to take a look at those now, knowing what modified mode is. Yeah, so modified mode gives an additional number bonus according to the number of something. All modifiers on the team start with the match with divine graces and whatnots. It's or rather, you have modified mode buffs. So this one extends the duration of modified mode, to a significant boost to crit rate for all teammates during this mode. All affected enemies take more damage. So modified mode and then also your faction are massive things to take into consideration, which is really, really good. More things to think about. Going back to it though, boom. This is something that they think about. You can pair faction buffs, give more damage. You can also get buffs to prolong the mode buff, 90 seconds, blah, 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 blah. So in a sense, modified mode is also the game changer aside from the previous mechanics that were explained, because all resistance are flattened to 0, so every damage, every element becomes valid in that burst duration. Yeah, that's true. Sounds great. Seems too complicated combat? Well, not the combat, but what you have to take into consideration when doing combat, yes. I wouldn't say that the combat is complicated. I would just say how you build it, and what you take into consideration when you're fighting certain things is complicated, right? Because you have to take into consideration, okay, what faction buffs am I going to use? Okay, so I'm going to use these faction buffs. Okay, these faction buffs are very much centered around going heavy into the modified mode. And okay, I'm going to build around then just absolutely demolishing this enemy by going to a specific element and then flattening that resistance down to 0 with modified mode, having the time extension there, and use up all my burst mode or all my attacks in this modified mode. So it's just adding layers of complexity, which is it's just great. It sounds great to me. This is just aesthetics comment. When entering modified mode, the screen break as you enter another dimension and exits the same way, but with the showing of the total damage numbers your whole team did during that time. Also, if the boss did not die, their resistance will revert back to normal and they will have a 1-second staggered state before continuing to attack. If there are 2 bosses, the modified bar are individually calculated, so if you have another boss that is close to triggering modified mode, it is possible to enter it again with another boss. Modified mode will have a few second cooldown, like 5 seconds, maybe before the bar can fill up again, so it is possible to trigger modified mode again at the same boss. And I'm assuming for a lot of bosses at the end game, you will actually probably trigger modified mode probably 2 or 3 times in one fight. Which, to be quite frank with you, sounds great. This part, though, where you can probably trigger it one after the other very quickly because of different bosses tracking it differently, maybe it's not going to be a thing, though. I think you'll probably have it just be a thing as an overall one system per interval, instead of multiple bosses being able to trigger differently. Ultimate skill. We're halfway through this. Ultimate skill. So during combat, ultimate skills for AI essentially are the only thing you will control. They will not trigger ultimate skills by themselves unless you press their icon when it flashes, as if you were to QTE swap in Honkai. Note that even though they are good AI, it doesn't mean that they don't require iframes. Ultimate skill are a core part of providing survivability to the AI themselves, as well as helping them clearing their targeted mobs faster before proceeding to the regroup with you again. You have to think about your AI. You have to look around and see if what they're doing. If they're dying, press their skill or help them. If you have certain unique characters that consume HP when using their skill, it is best to frequently activate their ultimate, as their ultimate might be a key factor in healing themselves. And in general, anyone's ultimate provides some iframe. Iframes are great. Some of the reasons you may refuse to use their ultimate is because you may want to do an ultimate skill chain, or you wanted to enter modified mode first, but bear in mind that ultimate can't fasten the modified bar fill, so act wisely. Essentially, think about your decisions in summary. Ultimate animation, same like Honkai, you could turn it off. Oh, you can turn off the animation? Thanks so much. I would love that in Genshin, but oh, apparently that's not allowed. Crinky dinky. No, just pictures. Ultimate skill chain. I don't think we need much more of an explanation. It's essentially just a mega juiced out ultimate. I'll be honest with you. Mega juiced one, I guess. In general, you have been told how it works, cool animations and stuff. How does it affect stage depending on what the attack is in the animation? Depending on what the attack is in the animation. In the animation, say the words! It will always be an AoE attack, and the only difference is whether it is a global AoE or a smaller AoE. Alright, that sounds great. If I am on the other side of the map with the mobs I'm attacking, and my ultimate skill chain is one, the AI, which is on the side of the map. A global one essentially hits everything in the arena. A smaller AoE means you have to be in a specified location for it. It's quite straightforward. In the animation, it will usually just show your attacks attacking one enemy, but in fact, it attacks it with and the surrounding area. But if there is a boss, it will prioritize a boss. But for ultimate skill chains, that only involves the 2 AI with you not having a chain. It will target the one surrounding them and the nearest, or the nearest to them. Listen, if you use your ultimate and it looks like it's hitting one enemy, but then other people take damage, it's got an AoE. Simple. And then global ones hit everything. Crowd control resistance, the general CC like stun, paralyze, freeze, and etc. can only be triggered if the character have the ability to do it. Most characters will have CC, while some are just purely damage or just regular stagger enemies. Much like in Honkai 3, there is a CD to how frequent you can CC enemies, which is essentially the whole diminishing returns. Every time you CC an enemy, a bar will show up at the top of their HP thingy right there. Oh my god. There we go. This looks amazing. If the yellow bar is full, you can no longer CC the enemy until it reduces its cooldown. This applies to regular mobs or bosses in high difficulties, or when you progress further, enemies will have be able to CC you and your teammates, such as Petrify, Freeze, and etc. Will you be able to do a rebound? That depends. When involving CC, you usually will rebound before the CC is applied, and in the last second, or still be able to rebound, but got CC afterwards, hinting that you didn't respond fast enough. It varies depending on what type of CC the enemy applies. Okay. As the game progresses in terms of difficulty, the enemy can fuck you up. They can fuck your shit up. They can rock your world. Character death and revive. When players die, the mission is failed. End of story. If the teammates dies, they can be revived for a certain time, but will have a cooldown. If you, the player, die, dead. Game over, game uninstalled from your device, account deleted. Essentially is the summary there. But if your teammates die, you can revive them, but only sometimes. No, but simply put, you fail the mission if you die. But if your teammates die, revive them. Meow System. Meow System is a cat crate, being of existence like Homu crate. This is the AI system that programs how the AI will perform during combat, either providing buffs when performing certain actions, prevent them from doing any more dodges, and full head-on attacks like the Rajang in the battlefield, which is a monster hunter monster, which is great. Or just play it strategically by forcing them to stay around you at all times, like a small harem. Great example, great analogy. Ah, that looks adorable, to be quite frank with you. Oh, they all look adorable. Oh, listen, I just want them because they're adorable. You can select one Mimir cat AI from 6 of them, which have general main function for your AI. Afterwards, you can select 2 Meow Chips with additional commands or buffs to be applied when the AI performs certain things, just like general increased stat output. Currently, there are 13 Meow Chips, and will further be added as new patches arrive, so blah, blah, blah. More cats, more fun, more juice. Right, great, great, great. That's the cat. That's the chip. Bam. The chip doesn't look as good as the cat, to be honest. Some of these look really adorable. The second one looks adorable. End of the combat mechanic. Now it seems we go to the gacha mechanic. The mechanic that is going to be the make or break. No, it's not, but it's going to be an interesting one to see. The gacha mechanic, it seems, though. That's the banner look. Just a showcase of the character and what they look like. Mode index, imprint, regular scan. Okay. A rank. Okay, so let me try to interpret it. So A grade or higher modified guaranteed with every 10. S rank guaranteed every... I'm assuming it's going to be 100, to be quite frank. Most games just do it in 100, unless it's fucking Gen Pin Impact. Okay, that character, alright. That's another small character. The Pharaoh the Unawakened. What are their names? Pharaoh and Rahu. Rahu Ashura. Alright. Pharaoh, Shikigami, Elf, Synchronic. Bro, why are they all children? What the fuck is happening? What is happening? Why are they... Oh, switch out Functors at any time without cost. Are these Functors? Are the Functors children? Alright. Limited raid up event for modifier scan has started. Blah, blah, blah. S-grade modifier Rahu Ashura is way higher. Way higher! A grade is modified with every 10, and S grade is every 70. Oh no, it's 70. Never mind. Okay, I couldn't read the text on the other screen. Okay. When S-grade modifier is obtained, the count for that type scan is reset. There's a 50% the scan S rank will be rate up, S rate or modifier. Oh yeah, also the gacha. Essentially, I didn't read this properly, but I'm going to explain it. It's always a 50-50 every single time, no matter what. There is no guaranteed system from my understanding. When S-grade modifier is obtained, the count of that type is scan is reset. There is a 50% chance the S-grade modifier will be the rate up S-grade modifier for this event, Rahu Ashura. If the S-grade modifier is if the S-grade modifier bullshit, they need to change that. That's so shit to say. If the modifier obtained is not the rate up, the next... Oh no, never mind. Where the fuck did I read that? Maybe that was a different game. Never mind, there is a guaranteed. I lied. Repeats are automatically replaced with a certain amount of intel. Fuck, I lied. Lol. Fair enough. Gacha system. Alright, here we go. Oh my god, it's finally here. This long-ass review, the moment we've been waiting for. The gacha system. I think it's a good system. Alright. That's the wrong cup. So you got the usual limited S-rank character, standard S-rank character, Functor banner, in other words, weapon stigma. So there's points for all these banners. All banner have a 70 pity. All banner cost 200 shifter starred crystals for a single pull. That's it. So 70 pity for everything. All banners, weapons, and characters. And all things cost 200 shifted stars. So it's not like Honkai where the Dawn banner is 200 and the limited time is 280. Everything costs 200, which is rather good. I don't really appreciate the fact that Honkai has the difference there. Not for any other reason than it's just confusing when it comes to like calculating shit. But regardless. For limited character, it have a 50-50. Oh shit! Includes one new featured S rank and a radar for certain A ranks, and the rest are standard S ranks. It will drop 3-star or maybe 4-star Functor, as well aside from characters. If you get an off-rate S rank, the next S rank will drop no matter if it hits pity or not. It will be featured S rank of the current banner. Pity will carry forward to the next limited banner, similar to Genshin character banner, and A rank or higher character is guaranteed to get every 10 pulls. So no matter you did a 10 single pulls or 10 instant pulls, the 10th pull will 10th pull every time will guarantee an A rank or above. When getting any S rank, the 70 pity guarantee will reset like normal. There'll be no character fragment drops. You will get fragments when you dupe of the same character. S rank drop rate is 1.6%. I believe that's already higher than Genshin's percent. I believe Genshin's base percent is 0.7. I could be wrong about that. I could be wrong about this, but yeah. That's interesting for that it's already drop rate is already 1.6, but it's 70 pity. Then it also depends on how frequently you get rolls, which is to be determined in the future. Every time you pull an S rank, whether it is new or not, you will get 100 Shining Imprint, 20 for A rank and 10 for B rank, and 3-star Functor. Oh, these are just resources, sorry. I was trying to figure out what the fuck they are. Shining Imprint are currencies that you can use at the Shining Imprint shop where you can trade for certain upgrade mats and golds. Limited banners usually last for 20 days, standard duration. For Functor banner, Functor banners are permanent. Functor banners are permanent. When new character pops up, their Functor will be added to the Functor banner. Functor have been told, follow the function route. Faction route. Too many F words in this fucking game. You will first pick which faction out of the 5 faction to be guaranteed drop anytime when a 5-star Functor drops. If you pick the Nile Factor function factor, there will be only 1 5 Functor factor stars that will drop that this is the Nile Factor Functor. After getting the 5-star Functor, you will awaken into a specific Functor for the Nile faction characters. So yes, it's a Functor selector box. You're pulling for the selector Functor box. Yeah, fair enough. Fucking Functors. Fuck it out. Simply put, this is the choice of the box, whatever the fuck it's called. The choice selection box, right? You get to choose the Pharaoh. Switch out Functors anytime. Choose any Functor, Nile. This is like the faction? I don't fucking know, but essentially, what I got from the text here is, when a new banner appears, you'll first pick which faction out of the 5 faction to be guaranteed drop anytime when a 5-star Functor drops. A new banner appears, you pick which of the factions you want to get a Functor for. And then, when you get that Functor, sorry, when you get that 5-star Functor drop, you get a selection box. Fuck, I'm speaking like an absolute idiot. You will get the selector box, which lets you choose any of the Functors from that faction. A 4-star or higher Functor will be guaranteed for every 10th pull, like the usual 70 is the pity. Note that when a 4-star or 5-star Functor drops, it belongs to the selected faction. For 3-star Functor, it will be randomly dropped from any faction. Okay. Changing the faction selection whenever you want will not reset the pity count. 5-star Functor drop rate is 1.6. So you can just, okay, so not even when the banner drops, essentially, you will just be able to change the faction that you're rolling for whenever the hell you want. This is kind of like a bit more generic towards just general gacha games on mobile. They have just like factions that you can select which one you're rolling for, but they usually don't let you switch it. Or maybe they do let you switch it, I'm not sure. I haven't played one in a while, but yeah. That sounds great. 1.6%, fine. Here's the question I thought. If I somehow pull a 5-star Functor from the Nile faction, why Nile? Because it's easy to spell. True. And I didn't awaken it, or I didn't use that selector box. And somehow next patch, a new limited S rank from the Nile faction. Will my currently owned Nile box selector be updated with a new one? The answer is I don't know because I never got the chance to test it or done it. But if, and only if it updates, then this is one of the best equipment banner ever, but let's just assume that it doesn't update. That is a great query to come up with yourself, by the way, Hoshovyada. I want to commend you on that one. It's a very good thing to come up and ask. Essentially, to summarize, if you pull a Nile selector box in one banner, and then the next patch, they add a new Nile Functor, a new 5-star Nile Functor, does that Nile Functor get added to the box that you pulled in the patch before the new one was added? It would be way too generous to actually do it that way, but if it is that way, that's very interesting. But it's better to assume that it doesn't do it that way because it's an easier assumption. Personal comment, per week, you can or may get 1980 shifted stars or crystals. This includes events, starting events, achievements, and wherever that is one-time reward. So you can calculate it and assume it yourself whether it's a good return on investment or not. For me, that's good enough. 7 weeks for 140 pulls, that's fair enough. Even in Honkai, reaching 28k or so needs 2 patches for me. AG version patch lasts around 5 weeks. 7 weeks for 140 pulls if you're playing optimally. And that's 2 guaranteed. Sounds fine to me. Sounds fine to me. Or, sorry, that's 1 guaranteed character, or 2 guaranteed functors, right? Sounds fine to me as well. I don't really see a problem with that. I'm a person who says I believe in the matter of fact of if you invest the time, you should get rewarded, especially if you're a free-to-play. This seems rewarding enough for a free-to-play person if they invest the time. But this is also subject to change depending on what events going on, what's happening, who's where, what's when. But obviously, that's how it is now. Personal experience, when I play on CN, I only play for 2 whole version patches. Reached admin level 70, I think. I got 3 S rank from limited banners, which means I lost my first 50-50. And on the first limited banner, in total, I think I did about 360 to 300-ish. I also got 1-star Functor from the Functor banner. So yeah, at the start, with all the events, they rewarded you well enough. I could say you might get enough to the 3rd patch with just pulling the limited characters. This is from free-to-play. I didn't whale on CN server, so too many complicated foreign stuff to do top up, which is a fair enough reason. If it looks and doesn't sound appealing to roll, or sorry, to top up, then most people aren't going to. AG does have a battle pass and monthly stuffs too, so yeah, even CN players mentioned that without 50-50, this game will be heavily free-to-play, so I have no problems with this gacha system. It does sound quite nice. It doesn't sound too, like, overly predatory in a sense, but then again, I haven't seen the top-up shop, so I can't really say that. But the gacha itself sounds great. 70 pity. If you lose the character pity, you just get on the next guaranteed. And then the Functor selector box is probably the best part about it. Essentially, it's like if you roll on the Genshin weapon banner, or it's like, you know, rather if you roll on the Stigma banner for Honkai, every time you get a 5-star or get something, it's always a selector box. When you get the highest rarity, I guess Genshin would have been a better example. When you get the highest rarity thing, you get a selector box, so you're not really ever there to get dupes. You will very rarely get a Functor dupe, essentially, is what I'm saying. So for Functor banner, it is very good banner. Who the fuck gives a selector box without any restrictions? In Honkai, I can get a select 1 Stigma by trading 2 dupes. That's already good enough. And here they give a selector box without any restrictions. So a tip from CN players and whales, or free-to-play suggestions, every character have their own specific Functor, including B rank and A rank character. You don't need to pull for every character or even every S rank Functor because there's a 5-star Functor, 1 for each faction that is grindable, and that alone can easily cover the jobs that Gacha Functor does. Only certain very few things, like the characters I mentioned before, Vilvinix and DA, meaning they heavily invested characters. As I said, Functors and weapons contribute roughly 30% to the overall performance of the character, mainly because of the stat increase it provides. Meanwhile, specific Functors offer extra skill or buff for that character. Thus, if the skill or buffs can be covered by the other means, such as affixes, why bother getting them? Exactly. Though in the very late of the end game content, where things are at Red Lotus levels, you may need Gacha Functors, as per usual. If you want to be the top 1%, you need to invest into the character and get their best stuff, is essentially the summary of this section. If you want to be the best, you have to get the best. But if you want to be just good, you don't need the best. You can just go with what's the next best, essentially, is the simple summary. And if that next best doesn't require you to spend money, then don't spend money. Gacha games are meta? Gacha games are great, dude. There's a weird stigma with gacha games. I said this earlier, but there's a very weird stigma with gacha games and how they are bad games. Fundamentally, they are great games. It's just that they sometimes are ruined by the community or sometimes are ruined by monetization, and so that kind of drives them into the mud. But on paper, gacha games aren't terrible because we're moving into a bit more of a free-to-play world. But I digress. Let's continue with this. We're about at 80% of this review. We're getting there soon. Unlike characters in Honkai where you have just Hacks or Bunny, she isn't a support unless you get Stigma. At least in AG, characters, if they are a DPS, they are a DPS. If they are support, they are a support. You get the character, you'll get 80 to 90% of the character. Main reasons, because they are constantly in the field, sigils are farmable, affixes can be re-rolled, weapons are permanent, Functors can be grinded, and Aether Code is free to mix and match. Unlike Skill Chain, which gives extra effects, Modifier Mode is available, faction and buffs are useful. Well, maybe high investment characters will be like 65 to 70% at base, but yeah, only if you use the character. So essentially, you get a character, you get what they are. If you get a DPS character, they are a DPS. If you get a support character, they are a support. Unlike something like Azure Imperia, or as the mentioned Haxor Bunny, they heavily derive in terms of supporting from their equipment. That's the end of the Gacha section. Overall, I'm going to give the Gacha a pretty solid, this is better than Genshin and Honkai. For the most part, maybe not better than Honkai because it has a guaranteed early on, but, you know, the gear doesn't sound like absolute misery to get like the Honkai one is. So this sounds on paper and in theory really good. Pure paper and theory. Nothing more, nothing less. Anyway, on to the next one, which is the game modes. By now, we are reaching the end of this long review, and it's been quite lengthy, but it's also been quite in-depth, which is very, very good. As I said, the storyline. As I said, the story plot will not be discussed, so the storyline game mode is just story stages. Like in Honkai, you go through a stage. There is no open world yet. It consumes stamina, but you generally have a lot of stamina. I mean, one of your dailies is to consume 300. You are indeed recommended to farm. Okay, story, stages, simple. There's no story spoilers here, so don't matter. Most of the part, you'll use your own characters. Clearing story stages rewards the crystals as usual. After clearing a chapter, you will unlock hard mode for the chapter, which is indeed hard because you're under geared, and you need some player skills as well. It also rewards with one-time crystals as well. Some stages require you to use preset characters, and depending on your skills, it may be challenged to get full 3 stars for one of those stages. It's very simple, very simple. It's very much like Honkai with the story progression. Supplies. Next game mode is supplies. These are your farms. Character XP mats, weapon upgrade mats, skill upgrade point farm. Basically, it's the upgrade mats farmville. Endless farming as long as you have stamina. Reaching a higher admin level will unlock each stage for better upgrade mats and increase multipliers for your mats per run. You can get up to 9 times multiplier for the mats, so it'll be easier and quicker as you level up. Plus, you can convert your lower grade mats to one of higher grade, 2-star, 3-star, whatever. You can upgrade your mats exponentially, which is fine. But it does seem, you know, endless farming as long as you have stamina. Reaching higher admin level will unlock more stages for better graded. And increase the multipliers. Essentially, you can do this a lot faster the higher you are. Essentially, the closer you get to end game, the faster this process becomes. But obviously not as lenient, but still staying as quick. Sigils. Sigils game mode is another farm. The sigil farm, you'll have to select what sigil you will that will drop, and there are multiple stages. High stages, they eventually give 5-star guaranteed star sigil, much like the Genshin artifact system. Once you get to the end game, or once you get to the higher, essentially once you get to level AR50, you get guaranteed 5-star artifacts. This is essentially, you can get to a point of getting guaranteed 5-star sigils. It's very easy to get 5-star sigils. The RNG to be fought against is the numbered slots. But as mentioned before, you can trade excess dupes for selecting the preferred slot sigil. A lot of leniency there, but obviously RNG is still RNG. Let's say if I upgraded a 4-star sigil to max and I want to use a level up 5-star sigil, an example of how you could essentially make or use the system to your advantage by trading and using a 4-star sigil to get a good 5-star sigil, so on and so forth. I'm not going to read too much into it. Though I forgot, you got 2 sections in the sigil tab. The joint trading is basically to farm affix mats for reroll. So yeah, another farm. This is to farm the affixes, or sorry, the resource that gives you the resources that you use to reroll your affixes. Challenge game modes are basically for your end game modes. There are 6 in total. Well, not all of them are considered end game content. Only 3 of them provide grindable rewards. Could be a raid system, essentially a dungeon system where you go in there, you have to do a series of challenges to get materials weekly or get resources weekly, potentially. Past grudges, weird name. From the left, we got the past grudges, which are the one-time reward challenges. You will unlock multiple boss stages within each, having 10 floors. I believe that's this one then, actually. Again, this is the past grudges. It said it right there. I'm fucking blind, aren't I? Came in Honkai Impact 3 in 2018. It's definitely better. Honkai Impact Global came in 2018. I don't know where I saw 3. 2018, that's why I compared it. Oh yeah, definitely. I agree. So that's past grudges. This is the other thing. Anyway, past grudges, one-time thing, 10 stages. Past grudges is a challenging stage where you unlock them by leveling up your admin level. It consists of bosses of each chapter at the 10th floor of each stage. You might fight 1 boss or 2 bosses or even 3 bosses on later stages. Even when fully geared, you will still be tested by your player's skills as usual. Since this stage consists of bosses from the main story, it may be updated every patch as the story progresses with new bosses and such. The rewards are one-time claimable, but you can reach either stage just to test your team performance or honing your skills in combat. It doesn't require any stamina, you can just keep on retrying. This is akin to that, something in Honkai. Honkai has it, I don't know what it's called, But it has like it's in one of the menus, and it's kind of similar where you have 10 stages that you have to go through. I have no idea what the system is called though. You have tutorials. I'm not going to read about the tutorials. A tutorial is a tutorial about the character specifically. It's a character tutorial. When a new character is launched, their tutorial will be added here for your leisure to indulge in and see how they play. Simple and straightforward. Hazard zone clearing. Next we have hazard zone clearing. This is a super string dimension where there are 4 stages and each stage will rotate buffs and debuffs. If I'm not mistaken, it rotates twice a week. It gives repeatable rewards as well. The Abyss for short. The difficulty of the stages allows your admin levels like in Honkai Abyss, and where you're clear to the certain difficulties, you can unlock the next difficulty of the rotation within the MDV. It's the Abyss. It's the Abyss. Simple as that. It's the Abyss. Oh, this looks interesting. Mycodri, level 30 to 49. So yeah, that's the Abyss right there. And then Dream Talk, that kind of looks like the fat guy from Honky Donkey. Recurring Dream. After that, we have Recurring Dream. After that, we have a lot more of this fucking review, don't we? Jesus Christ, there's a lot in this game already, but I guess it's... Yeah. After that, we have Recurring Dream. This is the Memorial Arena boss fight. Okay, so it's Memorial Arena. Recurring Dream, Memorial Arena. Fair enough. Dimensional Variables. Now, this is ER version of AG, where in weekly rotation, you can choose 3 out of the 5 characters that are preset by the game as usual. When a new S rank is released, it will follow the usual team comp that the particular new characters, for that new particular new character. Even if you don't have that character, you can still use them in this mode. However, the 3 characters will have certain equipments removed, and you will gain the equipments throughout completing floor by floor. You can also get random ether codes to choose. Sigils only require 1 to activate the set buffs, and a lot of other mechanics have been slightly altered to suit this game mode. Very interesting. So essentially ER on crack. A lot more changes to the game mode, a lot more changes to how the characters work, whatnot and whatnot. There will be buffs to choose like ER and the ER shops to buy certain things with the mode's currency. There's also diverging paths, which is the permanent buffs things that you unlock. And so the buffs, permanent equipment and whatnot, you will get throughout the cleaning of the floor by floor will be rewarded in 3, meaning that you can get the same type of rewards 3 times, which you can claim for your lead character or your AI teammates. So instead of building 1 character in ER, you will decide for all 3 characters. Example, the rewards is sigils. After completing the floor, you can choose 3 different or the same sigils to slap on which character you want depending on the RNG, but the rewards given will prioritize the recommended ones for all the selected characters. A lot of build diversity because you have to build for 3 different characters, and you'll get a lot of shit happening. There's a lot of shit. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of things. 3 characters, lots of stuff. Before starting any floor, oxygen, you can choose which type of rewards you want to get as well. With every certain floor, there will be harder floor, and then you can choose which parts provide better rewards. So this mode have critical decision making. If you feel your team isn't strong enough to clear harder reward floors, you can choose the normal ones which offer normal rewards. But bear in mind, every few floors will have a fixed boss floor that you need to clear regardless of your team, regardless if your team is well prepared or not. Same like ER. If you have a shit character, you're not getting past Hephaestus, is essentially the summary there. Note this game mode have 2 difficulties, normal one and the hard one. Which enemy have extreme buffs and debuffs, which follows the same concept but also relies on your player's skill. Dodging and skill timing is considered crucial. Very, very cool. You can also get rewards from... you can get both rewards from those difficulties per cycle. Also note that once you selected the lead character and your 2 AI, you cannot change them and their position after starting any difficulty. You can only change them after you've completed the run or give up for a restart and then when a cycle is finished. It can be attempted endlessly and there will be a save point if you fail or quit between the floors like in Honkai. Elysian Realm on crack in a certain way because you have 3 characters to actually manage. Kind of. Elysian Realm. Causality Survey. Lastly, we have this mode, which is a puzzle mode. You move 1 spot or multiple spot when encounter a challenge spot. You'll have a Gacha and Combat. It offers 1 time. It's kind of like it's like a Slay the Spy. It's like the it's like one Honkai event kind of. Rewards are clearing it with certain chapters will reward with Mimir Cat AI. It's more like a mini game with normal difficulty. It's a fun stuff. Fun. End of game modes. Team building comps. We've got a bit more of the review to go, boys. Stay with me here. Team building comps. Now that we know the gist of how the game mechanics work and the general idea, it's time to talk about team comps. Oxygen. The key points when building a team are the element, the faction, the ultimate skill chain, the buffs and debuffs, and the modified mode. Depending on what you're aiming for, you can pick 3 out of the 5 to be your main focus at least. You can mix and match anything according to your playstyle and needs. If you want to go for ultimate damage, you go for the ultimate skill chain and a bunch of other things that influence ultimate damage. Its reading is going to be a key factor to building this because you'll have to see what triggers what and how things trigger where. For example, the basic route people will choose, and including myself as a Honkai player, of course, will choose based on element plus ultimate skill chain plus buffs and debuffs. Boom. Simple. They're very straightforward. Element, ultimate, your buffs, buffs. Simple as that. I would pick one DPS and two supports where we are all the same element, and hoping there is an ultimate skill chain among those units with the supports providing buffs or debuffs. Focusing on attack, crit rate, crit damage for sigils and affixes, a common route almost everyone will pursue, because attack, crit rate, and crit damage are going to be the most universal and most standard things there. Only specific characters, like we talked about earlier, only specific characters will probably need defense or HP in some certain ways. But another major path people would take is modified mode plus skill chain, plus ultimate skill chain plus buffs. You technically don't need debuffs that reduce enemy resistance because modified mode removes resistances, which is a way to look at it as well, is comboing these 5 things, these 5 modes right here in different ways. You know, amazing. Sounds great. Diversity. But does this mean it's only beneficial to bosses? Yes, it mainly focuses on bosses, so normal mobs might not be worth it. There you go. So if you go into a normal stage, or per se, you go into the Elysian Realm game mode, or if you go into a certain game mode and you're only fighting normal monsters, you may want to change your build to be specified to not be the modified mode, because the modified mode only works on elites, and elites are considered bosses. Great. So it may not perform as well as the usual elemental team, but it does have its own pros as well. Even element-focused team comp would have its own pros and cons. Everything has pros and cons. Example, in modified mode for element team, resistant debuffs are useless, and since they didn't specifically focus on modified mode, they will heavily rely on the element buffs. Meanwhile, modified modes will have immense power in modified mode, certain things like 100% more damage in modified mode, extended duration, so on and so forth. So what about the other combinations like factions, purely elemental skills? As you're aware, faction buffs require the same faction characters, and ultimate skill chain require characters that have their own ultimate skill chains. It is to say, it is somewhat more harder to build than the other two. However, there is affixes and buffs that cater towards factions and ultimate skill chains. It is just that you need to required characters to build it. In summary, there are a lot of ways to build characters, some easier than other, and which is very obvious and common in most games, right? Some comps are easier, some comps are harder to build. There's always going to be a meta. There's always going to be the best. That's just how things work. And so there is obviously the 2 best things that have already been established, which is the full elemental mode, which is where do we read it? The full elemental mode, which is element, ultimate skill chain, and buffs and debuffs, which is the most universal one. But then you have the specific one, which is the bosses, modified mode plus ultimate skill chain plus buffs. You have these things. They've already been established, but other things are harder but also doable. For faction buffs, it's mainly a flat stat boost, like Olympus characters gain 30% more damage, so it's activated on the go just by belonging to the Olympus faction. Like using Calpus' second Nexus Signet, the buff is there from the start, and with extra buffs here and there from the other key points, it's just like a flat increase from the start. Amazing. For ultimate skill chains, there's a way to refill the ultimate gauge faster. Its cooldown isn't even long, with very high damage, so if you build towards ultimate skill chains, you can have your ultimates be, more frequent, higher damage, better, juicier. It is possible to make a team comp with all 5 of the key points. Yes, it is possible, but that would only mean you'll have all the general points at the same level. You might not get extreme advantages during certain situations. So you build towards all 5, you'll be the most generic person out there. You'll be okay at everything, but not good or great at any specific thing. So, do whatever you want. So you can try whatever combinations suit your liking and compare them to yourselves. Those supports in Honkai are about buff and debuff. In AG, you have support that heals, provides buff and debuff, or tanker with shield properties like Zhongli. Great reference to Genshin Impact. Zhongli. But there aren't many tankers like that yet, so we don't consider that a type of support yet. And that is to say that you may need to choose between healer or buff/debuffer. Support for one of the supports if you're bad at survivability, or if the stages are too difficult. If you're shit, slap a healer or a tank into the team, is the summary of that one. So all in all, with those stats, sigils, affixes, and every knowledge I've accumulated so far, I would say there is a wide variety of character development team comps. Overall, just slap PGR, Honkai Impact, Genshin Impact all together, and you get Aether Gazer. End of team comp. Aesthetics. Sci-fi. There you go. Sci-fi. Just to add in the facts and... I don't even know what FAQ stands for. Fucking ass quakes. There's a question regarding voice language changes. Bunch of stuff here. This thread is available in the if anyone else curious, this thread is available in the Discord. It's in the YouTube, sorry, in the channel's profile or about section. You can find the link to the Discord if you're ever so curious about where to find this thread, if you're curious about specific things. But this last part is, about UI, the shop menu, which I will take a quick peek at. This is the daily missions, the weekly missions. As per usual, you have dailies and weeklies. Every game has them nowadays. You have the guild level, your guild, the armada system, guild system. You'll get guild missions and certain things that unlocks the guild shop with currencies. Though the guild shop has quite the high value, as you can buy 2 affix rolls. You buy good shit. You buy the good juice from the guild shop. Be in a guild, regardless of what it is, even if you don't know people, just be in there just to get the advantage of having a shop available to you. But obviously, if you have friends, jump in there with friends. Game will feel repetitive. After completing daily weeklies, most of your time will be dedicated to farming. Well, of course, during your starting to mid-journey of the game, certain people who aren't keen on farming may just get bored with the same grinding experience. Of course, when you level up with multipliers and the sorts, things will get easier and faster, as I said earlier. But before you you need to bear with a lot of farming. Like every game. I don't know why that's personally, obviously not complaining about it, but people seem to think that's a bad thing. Listen, you have to grind games. There's not many games out there that are chill anymore, right? If you want to do something, grind the fuck out of it. There's no team page. You constantly need to select your team one by one every time you want to change a team. The game only memorizes your currently used team. If you want it to change out team, you need to manually select it. That's kind of annoying. That's obviously the thing they'll probably do. Loadouts, team loadouts. That's essentially, I think, what this point is. There's no team loadout. So if you want to rebuild your team, you have to rebuild it from scratch. Or if you go into a different mode, it will just use your previously used team. Not like you can't like switch it by just pressing one button. You have to slap them all in them individually. That's just most games. It will get repetitive after a while. Absolutely. So it's definitely not a detracting feature, at least not personally. And then power creep happens, but not so straightforward. By that, it means that there will be a character who naturally performed better than the previous ones, but every patch, the game tries to balance out the characters through sigils, by adding new sigils for the previous characters to function or catch up with the meta ones. Well, it's not entirely a con. For example, there is a standard S rank that have 4 elements. She's a sub DPS, but her stats mainly for support. If you want to make her a DPS, you'll need her Gacha Functor, which is normal. FYI, I mained this character during my time in CN. Even got her Gacha Functor, so in general, since she has 4 elements, that means she can fit into 4 different teams, but most people don't see her value because only her AI doesn't work as well as we want it to. The reason being that if I put her in a lightning team, she won't just spam lightning or lightning support, it will be random from the 4 elemental types, which is, obviously that's a bit of a thing that you can just fix on their end by making the AI have an extra option as to what element they use, but I guess that's a bit neither here nor there. You need to lead her on all of those 4 elements, which people might think is not fun. Thus, she became useless. I've recently discovered a certain update. There will be a Mimir chip that will fix this issue that she has a function according to thing. So overall, it's not really a con, I guess. So that's all, I think. And in the end game, they will focus with a meta of sorts for competitiveness, but not as heavy in Honkai because it doesn't specify you need to have every element. You can use any element, but that team of yours need to be maximized depending on how you build them. In essence, it is done. This should cover 95% of the game, maybe. Thank you very much, Hershviat. I really appreciate this. What a time. I just spent an hour reading very heavily. I'd like to hear from everyone in chat right now. What the fuck are we thinking, eh? What are we thinking? This is obviously a lot of information to take into one sitting. What are we thinking about this right now? I've got my thoughts. It sounds great on paper. That is my initial thought. On paper, everything sounds great. Props to Aaron, absolutely. Props to Aaron in the Discord or Hershviata in the chat. Very much appreciated. This all sounds absolutely astonishing on paper. I think the gacha system is really fair, to be quite frank with you. I think the gacha system is actually exceptionally fair. It's essentially Genshin system, but the way that I've wanted it to be for the past while. I've always wanted Genshin system to have the weapon banner have a guaranteed way to get a specific weapon. In this sense, the Functor is what you're rolling on, and that is the weapon variant of this game in terms of rolling. And you get a selector box for it if when you get the S rank. The character works essentially like the Genshin character banner. There's a 50-50. The pity carries over onto banners. What more could you ask for? It sounds fine to me. Obviously, you could ask for a guaranteed like Honkai has, but you know, this is a nice medium where you can get essentially a S ranker, an S ranker every patch. From what I remember, you can get quite a few rolls. You can get an S ranker every patch, or if you're lucky, you may get them early or not. It's a 1.6% chance, if I remember correctly, 1.6% chance, which 1.6, by the way, is a pretty good chance at getting them prematurely. To be honest with you, 1.6 is not low. 1.6 is quite high. All the systems, again, the nomenclature, the naming of it, not that great. Functor, faction, fungaloid, you know, so many Fs, but overall, the systems are there, the depth is there, the diversity in how to build certain things is there, and the lack of containment of certain things is there as well. Thus, what I mean by this is, when you get a character, you get the character and whatever they offer. And any other bonus that you get on top of that is just a bonus. Unlike in certain games like Genshin, not Genshin, like Honkai, where you get Azure Imperia, you don't have a support just yet. You need to get her weapons and a stigma, which will then make her a support. Where that is like a containing feature because you need to roll on more and more and more, which is a thing. Thanks for that guy who made this. We can try for a month or two for now. Yes, we can. I don't know when the game's coming out, but yeah. From what it seems, a whole lot better than Honkai, but they don't have open worlds, which I actually wish they have. You know, that's a personal preference. Open worlds is not a determining factor for me personally. If you prefer an open world, then obviously this is not going to tickle your fancy. It's kind of like a hybrid open world, if I'm to be honest with you, Blue Metal. It's from what I see, what I've seen of gameplay, it's a hybrid open world. You will go into a stage, and that stage is quite a large stage, and you will perform in that stage. But it's obviously not an open world. It's something like Genshin, Skyrim, Witcher. It's nothing like that, obviously. As for the generosity of how many rolls you get, we saw here, you get 1,980. Now, how many rolls is that? Well, earlier it was said that you get, it's 200 shifted stars or rolls per any roll. No matter where you roll, it's always going to be 200. Well, you do a bit of simple mathematics, right? Simple mathematics, 1980, right? Right, let's do it. Ready? 1980 divided by 200. You get 9.9. So essentially, you get 10 rolls per week. We're not gonna be pedantic and say that 0.9, or sorry, that 0.1 is gonna be all that important. You're gonna get 10 rolls per week, which sounds fine. Wait, 7 weeks for 140. Wait, did I do it wrong? Did I calculate wrong? Did I read wrong? Hold up. Let me go back. All banners cost 200 shifter stars for a single pull. Per week, you can or may get 1,900. This excludes. Sorry, excludes. Never mind. Excludes. I thought it included. Okay, so just through just the game itself, not even the events or any extras, just through the game itself, you can get 10 rolls a week, and then events and achievements and whatnot, you can get much more than that, which is where the 7 weeks for 1,400 pool, 140 pools comes in. To be quite frank, that sounds fair enough to me. A lot of this stuff is very fair enough. Which sounds like if you've been in the stream, that sounds like a detracting feature to me to just say fair enough. But it really just, when you're talking about gacha games, so for someone to say fair enough is like a compliment, because most of these goddamn gacha games aren't fair enough. So I think this is good. The shops, I'm not going to look at the shops too much because I don't really know the currencies. I don't really know anything like that. But the shops look fine. You can buy fragments to an extent. These are character fragments right here. You can get the glare guy thing. You can get character fragments from the shop. How does a story be told? Is it just like Honkai where 2 characters on screen with a text box? I'm not exactly sure, Blue Metal. The story in this review by Herscher was essentially left out because no spoilers, obviously, and they skip most of the story. But I assume it's the same way like that because you do it through stages as well. But yeah, as for the story in terms of what it is and how it's told, not sure because skipped because not gonna spoil the story for the most part. And I wouldn't have read the story section if it was explaining how the story and what the story is about, because rather not spoil it. If I'm gonna play it in any way, I'd like to see how it. I'd like to see if the story will make an impression on me for me to care in any way, which I don't believe it will, but we'll see how it happens. But all the modes, for me, this is moderately simple, and I've moderately understood everything. I say moderately because there's only one part, which is the sockets or the modifiers on your sigils, and determining how to get higher ones and whatnot is the only part that I want to see for myself and see exactly how it works. But essentially, it's a combination, as Herschel or Aaron said at the end there, it's a combination of, where is it? I'm blind, I can't find it. It's a combination of Genshin Impact, it's a combination of Honkai Impact. Oh, here it is. It's a combination of Genshin, Honkai, and PGR in one. It has a lot of similar systems from all of them, and you combine it into one game, and you see how it goes. So that is pretty much this AG review. I haven't played this, and I do actually want to see if I may be able to play it at some point before it actually officially launches, because that sounds like a bit of fun. But I probably will play this on launch. I very much will try this on launch, see how I like it. Now, will I play it forever? Will I play it as a game that I play all the time? No, probably not really, because it depends on what it offers, right? But I definitely will give this a shot, and I'll probably upload this whole like 1 hour review of this game to YouTube just for a bit of fun. Just for a bit of a 1 hour video for people to go back and see if they want to fucking learn about the game. But that's been this video. That's been this video. That's been this review of this game. Sounds interesting.